Three, two, one. Here we go. Hi guys, hello and welcome to another episode of the NightWatchmen, a cricket podcast where me and Soam discuss about various cricket topics. And today we have a very special guest with us. We have Loki all the way from Perth joining us today, and he has a Insta cricket page as well. It's known by Bias Cricket. Bias World of Cricket. Sorry, I'll just do it again.
All good.
Sorry, I
No, it's all good. It's all
Puryansh, there's some disturbance from your end. Is your fan switched on?
Okay, wait. Actually, we're doing this after very long now. The last time we recorded a podcast was with Tanay Tiwari, and he's an anchor at CrickBuzz. And that was, I think, 3 months ago or 2 months ago, if I'm not wrong. So this is actually our first podcast after that.
Okay, that's all right. Yeah, that's fine.
So I'll just do it again. Okay, I messed it up. Bias World of Cricket.
Right.
Yeah, correct?
Yeah. Yes, correct.
Hi guys, hello and welcome to another episode of the Night Watchmen, a cricket podcast where me and Soam discuss about various cricket topics. Today we have a very special guest with us. He's joining all the way from Perth. His name is Loki and he has a cricket channel on Insta by the name of Bias World of Cricket. You guys should totally check it out. We actually were following that page since quite some time now and we were liking it. So that's when me and Soam thought that we should totally collaborate with this guy, and he was generous enough to give us his time. And so welcome Loki. Welcome to the channel, and
Thank you.
Very glad to have you here.
It's very kind of you to say all those nice words. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here as well to talk some cricket with you guys as well. Very happy to be here.
Perfect. So I'll give you a disclaimer. The only reason we called you here because that Australia versus India series that just happened in 2020-21, the Border Gavaskar Trophy I'm talking about, and we wanted to talk to an Australian guy. We were like,
no, that's
now
fine.
we have to talk to an Australian guy, and we have to talk as Indian fans, and we have to like have some banter with him. So yeah,
That's fine.
Your thoughts and opinions on that series?
It's really mixed because it was some damn good cricket. Like the quality of cricket overall was absolutely exceptional. But it's just like we lost. We part of me says we kind of choked part of that series because, especially at Sydney, we should have taken more than 5 wickets on a 5th-day pitch. I mean, Payne dropped some catches. I'm a massive Payne fan, but that was poor keeping. But we got blown away at the Gabba, and it's like it's sad, but it was a monumental series for cricket.
Correct. Totally agree. So, what are you smiling at? What are you?
I don't know. I'm just like, very rarely that Indians get bragging rights over Australians, and this is the era now. I'm glad to be alive in this era. That's all.
Yeah, totally. Correct.
Yeah.
So, Loki, I wanted to ask you this question. I wanted to ask this question to every foreign guy in general, like any non-Indian. I ask this question to, and that is, how big is cricket in your country? So we did a podcast with a guy from England. We asked him that, and now we're doing a podcast with you from Australia. So I would like to know, how big is cricket in Australia? Is it the first or the second sport in Australia, or how does it go?
It's a bit complex because Australians, we like so much sport that it can get very seasonal. For example, right now it is AFL and rugby season. Sorry, there's my dog. Yeah. But anyway, those sports are absolutely dominating everyone's attention right now. So, for example, the T20 series in Bangladesh was a little bit out of sight, out of mind for the general public. But for at least 6 months of the year, cricket is absolutely huge. Like, it is constantly on the agenda. Every media is talking about it. Like, the Ashes gets pages and pages and pages of news, and so did the Border Gavaskar series. So, like a lot of things in Australia, it is massive, but it's also a bit seasonal in terms of when we follow it in our most detail.
Makes sense. So our season goes on for 12 months in a year. Our cricket season is actually 12 months in a year, and that is the only sport that we actually follow as a country. Like, cricket is the only sport in realistic terms.
Yeah, that was something I found. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. No. Say. Continue.
It was a bit different because a lot of my followers are from India, and it is a bit different when they're like, oh, are you covering the IPL? It's not something which I've traditionally focused on, partially because we don't get it on television here because of corporate things, and because it's just during AFL season or when the English Premier League is on or something. So it's like it was an interesting experience. Something I'm glad that I understand now.
Yeah.
Nice. We didn't know you didn't get IPL at all there. So you have to like get it from some sources, right?
So it's only on pay television, and it's like
Uh-huh.
$25 a month, and I simply don't have the funds to
Okay.
get
Yeah.
that. It's on one of Rupert Murdoch's things, but it's like it's not on free TV. So yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. So my next question to you is obviously even though India beat Australia in that series, Australia still had a chance to get into the finals, and that couldn't happen because Australia cancelled the South Africa tour. So what is your opinion on that? So
I was bitterly disappointed we cancelled it, to be honest, from both a personal Australian perspective and a cricketing perspective, because it would have been good to see guys go over back there after the ball tampering tour, for example, like Smith Warner, see if they can redeem themselves. And that South African team's not that bad. Like they've got a decent pace bowling arsenal,
yeah.
and guys like Markram and Van der Dusen are decent bats. And I know of reports from like the grade cricket and other sources at the time were like, our board was like, you have to do this. South Africa complied, but okay, now you have to do this as well. And then it got to a point where we made so many unreasonable demands that South Africa was like, we just can't do this. And we're like, okay, we're not coming. And it was disappointing for guys like Cam Green, obviously. Usman Khawaja was back in the squad. Alex Carey in the test squad for the first time. So that was really disappointing as well, that those guys didn't get an opportunity.
Correct. I was actually pretty disappointed because I, as a fan, always loved the Australia versus South Africa series. Even that series where you guys got all out for what, 59, when Philander and Steyn were
40
like
in
49,
Hobart
49. Yeah. No. Was it
or
Hobart?
47. We made
47. Yeah,
47.
exactly. 47. Yeah.
Yeah.
That series for me was when I was like awakened to world test cricket, not just Indian test cricket. And I was like, okay, I have to follow this series. South Africa versus Australia is always going to be a series to look out for because there is actual fast bowling there. And that was at the time when India didn't have many fast bowlers. So that for me was a revelation. Like you can actually bowl that fast, and like fast bowlers are the real thing in cricket. And I was like, okay, my mind is blown now. I really want to follow this series. And since then, I've always been a fan of South Africa versus Australia series. Sorry. And yeah, totally. I was very disappointed.
They've been some ripping series. Yeah, you even think of when we've been blown away, like in that ball tampering tour, or in 2012 where South Africa won 1-0 and could have comfortably won 2-0 or 3-0.
Graham
They're
Smith
always
batted with a
ripping
fractured
series.
hand, right?
Yeah,
that series.
that was 209, but I mean, they've always been ripping series.
Correct. Okay, so now shifting from Test cricket to limited overs cricket, I have to ask you this: what is up with Australia's limited overs team? What is up with Australia? What is happening? Like you guys lost 4-1 to Bangladesh in Bangladesh. Okay, I realize that playing in subcontinent pitches isn't your strongest suit, but then again, like getting blown away by Bangladesh that badly in a T20 series. I realize also that your main players weren't playing in that series, but again, even Bangladesh had two main players missing in that series, and that is really inexcusable as an Australian. Like I think from an Australian point of view, to see your team doing that bad in foreign conditions.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think if this series happened during our summer, heads would have rolled. But because it's in that little bit of out of sight, out of mind thing, people are sort of like, oh, okay, it's just another T20 series. And I've actually got down here a whole list of things which are wrong with the broader first class structure. And I think they're seriously impacting our T20 team. So to start with, the pitch quality in first class cricket is awful. They are genuinely absolute roads most of the time in both the Big Bash and the Sheffield Shield. Like a lot of Sheffield Shield games, especially in places like Adelaide and and MCG and the WACA or North Sydney Oval, are like 500 plays 450. And it's like it's not helping guys' techniques as well, because they're just getting used to playing on absolute roads, and then they go to somewhere which has a slightly more difficult task and they're playing awfully. Because like guys like, I've got stats down here, guys like McDermott are averaging 32 in Sheffield Shield cricket, Enriquez 36, and they are like the best we've got. You don't have guys like Shreyas Iyer averaging 55 in India. And it's really complex. And I don't think we also select our T20 team properly. I think we just pick guys who have done well in the Big Bash without picking a combined 11. It's like Alex Carey only opens in the Big Bash, and we're expecting him to bat like 4, 5, or 6.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, we
Sorry,
had,
I did talk for a long time.
Disappointed with the selection too. Yeah.
yeah, we had that question ahead also. Like, why do successful BBL players just fail everywhere else? Like, what is up with that?
I don't think the quality of the league is particularly good. Like, if it was not in Australia, I don't think guys would be coming here. Especially like we saw with Bangladesh, we can't play spin. The quality of spin bowling in the Big Bash is not great. Because no offense to guys like Peter Hatzoglu, they're not bad cricketers, but they're not the kind of guys right now who are what you want to prepare for to go up in the Big Bash. Pardon me, go up into international cricket. And it's like there's just so many deficiencies with our T20 game that, and we've now finally realised, we might need to fix those now when we start losing, when we should have been looking at them in the past.
So what you said that the pitches are like absolutely flat when at first class level in your country. I think that must be a big issue right now because Bangladesh just like they got rank turners for all of the T20s, like not even the last T20s, all of the T20s they had rank turners, and that didn't really help because they were playing at the same venue again and again. So that must have been an issue.
Yeah, I think pitches were part of an issue, but to be bowled out for 62, like, the pitch can only be part of the problem there. There's got to be something involved like techniques or preparation or, oh my God, apologies if you heard that. My brother's just got home and yelled. Anyway, I think there's far more problems than just spinning wickets.
Yeah, so sometimes
Also,
you get all out
also
on
the batting order, right? Sorry.
Sometimes you get all out on 62 and sometimes 36. That's okay. That happens.
Well,
also, the batting order is also one of the problems, right? Because in one match you see Carey opening, then the other match is batting 2 down, then the other match Wade is opening, then the other match is playing 4 down. Like there is no consistency in that. Any player is playing anywhere. Like they randomly select people and they're like, okay, you go for opening, you go 1 down, you go 2 down, and then that's our batting order for today. Like how is that? Yeah.
I just don't know. I think they got absolutely scrambled in Bangladesh. They were like, we have no one who we trust to bat on these wickets. And they just tried to find a combination and it didn't work. I'm sorry if there is a bit of noise in the background. My family has just got home. When the Zoom meeting pauses, I'll close all my doors. But anyway, I don't think they had a complete lack of confidence in everyone essentially. And they were just trying to find people to bat around Mitch Marsh. Because he was the only guy who just stayed at 3 all series.
To be honest, I really like Matthew Wade and he was opening well in the South Africa series, right? The recent series. West Indies, sorry.
West Indies, he was all right. He was one of the better ones, to be fair.
Yeah. And they just messed up with his batting position. He should have kept opening because the World Cup is May and
if he plays, he'll open. If he plays, he'll open in the World Cup. So I don't see the point in putting him anywhere else.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay, now shifting to a slightly lighter topic. So because we had this, I wouldn't say very debatable or very heated argument or anything like that, but because we had this very cricket intensive chat, now we'll shift to something more of a cinematic nature. What was the reaction of people after watching the test? Now I realize that is also cricket and that is also based entirely on cricket, but that is still, again, a TV series at the end of it all. So how was the reaction of the people after watching the test?
I think we loved it. I think it went over really well in Australia. I think I must admit it's been a while since I watched it because to get through like 8 hours of television in a row can be a bit difficult, and it is we're losing, so there is part of that motivation which is like, I just want to watch some of the highlights of us winning.
Yeah.
But it was a damn good series. I hope they make a part 2, and I think Langer and Payne came out of it really well because they, to me at least, they came across as good leaders and trying to do the right thing. And I just hope that was the perspective that got across to more Australians, that these guys did have a plan and they finally got to see what really goes on inside our cricket team.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, Langer and Tim Payne actually like looked good. They had a plan and all, but also I would like to say that Amazon actually scripted it well too. Like, scripted it well in the sense they presented it well, not scripted it well. They presented it really well. That I like.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying like Australia planned it as a PR move just to like improve their image after that whole sandpaper gate thing. And
I think it was probably. I think they saw that Amazon looked at them and said, do you want to make a series?" And I think it was the best time to do it because the only way they could go is up. Like if they lose honorably, then they gain admiration for being good blokes. And if they win, the Australian public is happy and gets to watch a team winning. I think it'll be very interesting if they make a series too, which I heard they were filming prior to COVID. What happens with that and what the perception of that would be, because it's been a roller coaster. I don't know if Australians will have similar sympathy for losses now.
Yeah.
Correct. And also, I don't think the cricket board had anything to lose, right? So they were just going to make a series and they are getting money for it. And I don't think they had anything to lose in the sense that the dressing room would have been absolutely clean, especially after that debacle, that the sandpaper gate. I don't think there was any problem in showing what was happening inside it.
Yeah, it couldn't have got any worse, essentially. I think they made a calculated gamble on the success of the team, and it wrapped up in a pretty perfect story as far as they were concerned. We got the Ashes in England for the first time in 18 years. And it showed a side to the Australian cricket team, which we, as an Australian public, have never seen before. So I think it was a win-win for everyone.
Also, this is underrated, but Australia actually reached the semi-finals of the Cricket World Cup after having conceded the most runs in an ODI ever to England. When Justin Langer
at final drubbing
coaching
in England. Australia still reached the semi-final, which I was very surprised with. I think many people do not talk about that, but it should be talked about more because of the way that you guys were playing cricket at that point of time when Smith and Warner got banned, to actually reaching the semi-finals later on. I think that was like a pretty good achievement, but people don't talk about it enough.
Yeah, it was a very complex team as well, because you had Finch was absolutely firing and Warner wasn't firing, but he was getting that luck which he lost in the Ashes, and he was making tons.
Right.
And then we had Carey, who had an exceptional World Cup, and the bowlers who made up for Stoinis not performing as well as he should have, and like Khawaja and Marsh being thrown into disarray by the return of Smith. So it was a really good achievement considering everything that had just happened in that ODI team of guys coming back. And I think it was a bit overshadowed by the way which England demolished us in the semi-final, which was a bit unfortunate. But it's understandable considering that was an absolute demolition.
Right. So let's move on from this topic now. And so there's been some news in the air that like people have been starting talking about Justin Langer. So what do the Australians think about Langer as a coach in general? Like, what is the common opinion?
It's very mixed right now. I think that might be something to do with recency bias because we've lost, but I'm a Langer fan. I've defended him in videos on my Insta account, but it's like people sometimes, his selections can be confusing at times, like the dropping of Usman Khawaja and other things. And he does have problems as a coach. Like I've willingly admitted that he likes his players to be absolute hard nuts who just run through brick walls. And his record's not that bad. He's done well in tests and pretty well in ODIs, but it's that T20s which are the issue. So right now it's really juxtaposed, and I could see him leaving with pain after the Ashes. I hope not, but I could really see it happening.
Wow, pain out of the Ashes.
That would be at the end of the Ashes. Sorry, at the end.
Okay, after the end.
Okay. Yeah, at the end. The end. Sorry.
Okay, Lockie. So since you're an Australian, I have to ask you this. Can you explain David Warner's TikTok to us? Can you explain his Insta reel?
On a commercial sense, I can understand it. But if I was a 34-year-old man, I wouldn't be doing that. I think he has nailed that market. Hang on. Is TikTok still banned in India?
It's banned in India.
Okay, so it's banned in India. So
now he shifted to Insta Reels because TikTok has got banned. Many people have shifted to Insta Reels.
Now. I think he was just trying to on a commercial expense, get more into the Indian market to some extent with that. So, sort of, because a lot of the clips are from Bollywood, I thought.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Or
From
Overall Indian
Hollywood,
cinema.
Bollywood, overall
Yeah.
Indian cinema.
His team is from the south, so he focuses on some south cinema also.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's mostly commercial, but he also probably does kind of enjoy it, to be honest. I certainly wouldn't do it, but
I think like
it is a
after
bit
that
confusing.
sandpaper issue, like he's just come out a different Warner, because I absolutely hated Warner before that because he was that aggressive guy. He has that
Yes, so
celebration
did I.
after
So did
completing
I.
the century. Like I just couldn't digest him at all. But after this, like he's just smiling every time. Even in IPL, if he has lost the game, he's smiling every time. Kind of like
He's
it,
mellowed.
but I kind of like it, but also miss the aggressions somehow. Somehow.
Yeah, we do lack a bit of aggression in the team sometimes, I find. Warner did cross the line a lot, but we do sort of lack that aggression. Sometimes it is like, okay, we are trying a little bit too hard to be cookie cutter nice guys. And we do go over the top at times. Like in India, Payne's remarks weren't great. Sorry, against India. But it is, Warner's definitely changed, and he's become, I think it's also in line with being a new dad to like 3 young daughters. I think that also plays a big role.
Right.
Correct.
Also,
I think his family also enjoys those reels more than him, like as much as him, probably.
Probably, yeah. They get to hang out with their dad and just dance around.
Yeah.
So probably right.
in other news, India has lost the toss.
In other news, the sky is blue.
And Moin, Hamid, and Wood are playing in place of
That's
Dan,
good.
Crawley, and Broad. Okay, Anderson is fit. Wow.
Crawley got dropped. Oh,
Yeah.
I personally would have dropped Sibley, but oh well.
Yeah, same. Even I would have dropped
The whole
Sibley.
Crick Info chat could drop Sibley if they wanted to.
Uh,
No one likes Sibley. And India is playing Ishan Sharma instead of Shardul Thakur. No Ashwin.
Thank
But
God,
no
thank
Ashwin.
God.
Yeah, no Ashwin.
Okay. Oh, no
I
Ashwin.
didn't
Oh,
think
okay.
Ashwin would play. I must admit, I wasn't sure about playing 2 spinners at Lords, to be honest. I know he's great, but it's like 2 spinners on that
No,
pitch.
I don't know. I wanted Ashwin to play. Like I
Fair
have
enough.
a bias for him probably, but then I really wanted Ashwin to play this match. I think
Yeah, no, that's
whenever
fair
he's
enough.
dropped, after that when he comes back, he plays well.
That's fair enough.
But
And
Because he's got a
people-
point to prove. Yeah.
Interesting to see
They-
India's 4 main pace bowlers playing together. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. India's
Yeah.
quadruple.
It will be good. I'm just trying to think. But I think, playing the big 4 quicks is something that India have not had for a long time with injuries and things, especially against Australia. I think it could be a good chance for them all to show their skills, and hopefully Ishant does well and backs up how well he did in the World Test Championship final, when he was just consistently hitting those lines and lengths and nibbling it away from.
I think he always
Williamson
does
and
that.
Taylor.
I think he's always a very reliable bowler in that sense. I mean, in the past 3 to 4 years, he's been like that consistent bowler who can bowl long spells in that one area, like perfect line and length, and he can trouble the batsman that way.
He's improved so dramatically from averaging like 37 to averaging about 32. It's just mental.
And hopefully it does not rain.
All right. All right.
Also, who bats 6 down now, Shami?
Shami. Yeah.
Okay, now our tail is this big.
Actually, that was a good point for picking Ashford as well, because the tail is so long. I mean,
which is why I wanted Ashwin to play.
England have got Curran, Moeen, Robinson can bat. And India, once you get through Jadeja, it really is soon. Home come the chickens or something like that.
Okay, so let's move on to the questions. I'd like to ask. Okay, it's not that funny, but why is Lion called the GOAT when you have had Shane Warne in your team before? I've never understood that.
It's a really confusing thing. He's called the GOAT because he's the GOAT of off spinners. We haven't had many great off spinners in the past. He beat a guy called Hugh Trumbull, who played around 1890s, 1900s. So we haven't had a great off spinner for that long. So to have someone take 399 wickets bowling off spin, he's just called the GOAT because of that.
I was thinking about this after we made this question. I thought, like, because he's a Lion and he has the claim over GOAT, that is why I thought somehow like this, but okay, that's a pretty reasonable
Mm.
explanation. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, and the Gary part, that comes from AFL. There was a famous AFL player called Gary Lyon. So yeah, that's where that comes from as well.
Okay.
Oh, that's where nice Gary comes from. Okay, I
Yeah,
always used to
that's where
wonder
that
where
comes
Gary
from.
came from.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's
Okay.
it's a very Australian reference.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense now. Okay, so since we're talking about Australian things, is Ashes bigger than the Cricket World Cup?
Oh, for us, I'd say yes. In the mind of the Australian public, yes.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, broader cricket world, good God, no.
Yeah, obviously not, but
it's
I meant in
big,
the
but
from
yeah.
an Australian point of
Yeah,
view.
for Australia, yes, because we've got so much history of like Bradman and Neil Harvey, Keith Miller, all these guys who played Chappell, all these guys. The World Cup just has 50 years of history, which is damn good, but the Ashes has 150. And it's evolved from the little colonial nation fighting against the mother country to two nations trying to see every 2 years supremacy in everything. So yeah, for us, I'd say the Ashes is bigger.
Yeah, like Australia won three consecutive World Cups, right? So I think Australia was a team like who could do anything. Like Ashes is as important as the World Cup. So Australia
More
is,
important than the World Cup.
yeah, Australia is that guy, like two legs in two different boats that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good point. Yeah.
So so
Coming to bragging rights, how does it feel to know that Washington Sundar named his pet dog Gava?
Oh, I saw that. That is such an Australian thing to do as well. It's like we would do something like that. Like I was half expecting Tim Payne to call his dog Edgbaston or something if he had a dog, but I like it, to be honest. Washington Sundar was great. He's such a handy cricketer, and I mean, we got to take it. We lost the series. We got heated sometimes. Like it's fun. It's good banter between the teams. And I hope people just take it as that. He's not trying to be nasty or mean.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of banter.
It was very crazy for us because he isn't that guy who's aggressive on the field or who looks aggressive at least.
He's
And
quiet. He
he
just bowls his
went on
offies and
to
scores
pull
60s.
off that Chad move.
It was such an alpha move. He's alphaed the entire country.
Yeah, definitely.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So my next question is like, how big is TGC in Australia? Because they have grown immensely in this, like from the
IPL season.
from the IPL season.
Yeah.
Actually.
When they've been
IPL
covering
2020
more Indian
from
cricket.
that time. Yeah. So how big is it in Australia?
I'd say it's seasonal again. Like right now, I must admit, I haven't been listening to the pod because I've been quite busy with uni and other things, but it's also because of AFL focus other than overseas cricket. But it is damn big most of the time. Like they get a lot of viewers and you always get people talking about it in cricket forums in Australia. So I will definitely be tuning back into it probably around the T20 World Cup, where I'll be aiming to when I have time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a massive deal in Australia.
Okay, that's okay. But yeah, I get why it's seasonal. Okay, I was kind of surprised, but I get why it's seasonal.
You know, it is a very Australian thing to jump between sports all over the time. But yeah, I guess it's just how we work because you can't really play cricket all year here. You just can't.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Just give me a second.
I think the meeting will end in 5 minutes. Can we take one more question, Surya?
Yeah. I think we can.
It's all right.
Okay, so I had this question. Okay, now this question is because I have a slightly negative vibe like towards Travis Head. Okay, so I'll frame this question in a proper way. I'll try to frame this question in a proper way. So how does it feel to be an Australian cricket fan growing up to that invincible team? Like I wouldn't say invincible, but that team, like the team to beat, to now having Travis Head bat at number 5 in your test team.
Yeah, no. It is a massive step down as well. Like, no offense to Travis Head. He averages under 30. When we had that team, Mike Hussey was averaging 50 in the Sheffield Shield and he couldn't get in the team, like at its peak. It is a step down. It's like we've gone from having that era of absolute dominance to where like Cameron Green scores 7 centuries, and that's a bit harsh on Cameron Green. He's technically very good, but the guy scores 6 or 7 centuries and he's right into the Test team. Like, it is a bit sad because like the quality and the depth just isn't there. So it is sad, but I think looking back on that era, that was a ridiculous team. Having that mental aligner, I think there's very few teams who you can compare to that in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, hardly
Maybe
any
the
team.
West
I
Indies
don't
in the
see any.
1980s.
Probably the West Indies of
Yeah, okay,
1970s. Yeah,
Mm.
I think probably the only team that could actually compete against the Australian team of 90s and the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you even think about England's best teams, like they're
Nah.
just not
England's
quite
best
in the
team is
ballpark.
probably the team that beat India in 2012 with
Yeah,
Monty
in modern
Panesar
times,
and
most
James
definitely.
Swan and
The only one
Stokes,
I'd
Bell,
compare that
Peterson.
to,
Yeah.
the only one I'd compare that to historically is like in the 1930s. They had a mental amount of top quality players, but that is so long ago that
Yeah.
I
really
can't.
can't
I
compare
haven't
them.
even read up about it.
No, that's
Also
fine. So
because
I have
there
so
were
many
hardly
books.
2 or 3 competitive teams at that point, right? Like England used to play, Australia used to play, India probably had a team, but I don't know if they were like
No,
actually
India
competing with them.
didn't, I don't think. I'm pretty sure India only played Test cricket after World War II. I think.
Okay.
I think.
think
Don't quote me on that.
Even I'm not sure.
The first series against Australia was 47-48, but I'm not sure about England. Up until then, it was South Africa and the West Indies and occasionally New Zealand. Very, very occasionally.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is a question like that is in the running since I think 2010s. I think so. 2010s, like early 2010s, like from 2013, this question started surfacing, and it's still relevant. So, I wanted to ask you, how do you see Test cricket progressing in the next few years, considering only 3-4 teams are actually being competitive at the moment?
It's a tough one because I like the idea of the World Test Championship, for example, but it's not working how it should be. Like trying to convert cricket to a league format the way we currently are and keeping all the series, it's not equitable and fair because you've got teams like Bangladesh playing 7 tests, whereas Australia is playing like 20. It's just not entirely fair, but I think it is some progress, and hopefully more of that money gets redistributed away from the big 3 nations, India, Australia and England, and hopefully that can develop more cricketing nations around the world and gradually feed back even to associate nations, and moves like putting cricket in the Olympics. Hopefully that could seriously help if it's like advertises the shorter form of the game. Maybe that might even get a bigger following in the US or places like that.
Also, that is why I like Bangladesh winning the Under-19 World Cup, because I think like in the future, if something like this happens, like Bangladesh winning a World Cup, it would be crazy, and I think that would help them in improving in Test cricket also.
Yeah, that would be a massive help. If they can get more depth and young players, that can be really, really helpful for the future of Test cricket all around the world, not just in Bangladesh.
Right.
I actually liked it when England won the World Cup for similar reasons. I mean, you could say that New Zealand were the underdogs or whatever, but then England winning the World Cup has an effect on the whole world because England is that. In sporting terms, it is a superpower. So when England wins a sporting event, it's talked about in the whole world, right? Like England won a World Cup, it's talked about in the whole of Europe. Even though it's cricket, it's not something that they actually play very often, but still,